The big idea is that some things cannot be improved, they can only be diminished. That using Google Maps as an analogy. Oh, well, I heard that if you ignore every fifth turn signal or turn direction, that's how to use it. I heard that it only works on Sundays. That's how to use it. I heard that it only works in the Greek. That's how to use it. And one can imagine the same with math, arithmetic, multiplication. Change it a bit, it doesn't work. There must be better analogies, but those will have to do for now. That, well, we know that certain drug regimens work if they are taken as prescribed, if they are used as prescribed. And if that prescription is tampered with, it doesn't work. In fact, it can become deadly. The big idea is that that's how Jesus' words and example work. If they're tampered with, they don't. If they're taken as directed, straight up, as directed by Jesus and no one else, they work. A painting by Michelangelo works unless people get in and meddle with it, mutilate it, change it, and then it doesn't work. The big idea is we have never tried Jesus' way. By way of analogy, Google Maps have been developed. It was there, and no one had tried to use it. By way of analogy, a system of mathematics exists, and no one has ever tried to use it. Christianity, Jesus is barely a footnote. Barely a footnote. That's being generous, and it's not being unkind. It's a fact. Christianity is the argument that all that matters about Jesus is his divinity, his blood sacrifice, that he fulfilled some biblical prophecy. That's it. Christianity is that argument. That what matters is what the church says, what the denomination says, what the pastor says, what the sect says, what Constantine said. And if they matter, why do they matter? Because Jesus' gospel, his words and example in the four canonical gospels are not enough. It is a clear, absolute statement of that. Oh yeah, Google Maps is great. I never use it. I don't refer to it. I refer to dozens of other things, thousands of other things to have the life I want to have. Drugs, entertainment, houses, cars, pharmaceuticals, couches. Capitalism is an argument. Jesus is not necessary and sufficient. He's not even relevant. He's not even relevant. His name, his blood, his worship, but his words and example? Totally irrelevant. And the big idea is that it is exactly what's relevant, because it works. James here knows it works because he's tried everything else. He's tried all of these things. And he knows it works by studying the lives of others that have at least been inspired, but they had been so corrupted, so blinded. Hi! Good morning! Hi! Thanks for taking care of the sheep. Nice job. Hey, good work. Yeah, good work. They had been so blinded that despite their brilliance, they couldn't imagine that what they needed to do was try what he said. Not replace it with their own words, not dilute it with their own words. Try it. Talk to people about what they succeeded and failed in trying. Yeah, probably. Why not? But substitute for Google Maps, substitute for mathematics? No. Get people to it. Get people to try it. Get people to use it. They've been so blinded by Christianity that they couldn't get there. Not a criticism, a fact. We've never tried it. Who invented mathematics? I don't know. Does the whole world use it? Yes. Because it was pointed to in some book? It was prophesied? No. It works. It does the job like nothing else does in its realm. And the big idea is that that's Jesus. Why would I leave things be? Why won't I leave things as they are? Because they're working. They're destroying all life on earth. They're destroying because they have effectively destroyed our humanity that we were born with as children. Just like we were born with eyesight and hearing and smell, we were born with humanity, that neurological capacity of capabilities. Look it up. It's working. Christianity right at the vanguard of it. See my other post and video on the masterful job that Constantine did, or at the time of Constantine, in creating the anti-Jesus way, Christianity, that supported empire, that was a major tool of empire. He didn't convert to Christianity, he converted Jesus' way to Christianity, to a tool of empire rather than the biggest threat to empire that has ever been on earth, as Jesus intended it to be, his way to be. It's working. The ideas are working, and they're killing us individually and collectively. And I can't stop it. And I can't stop trying to maybe get this idea out so that generations from now, the poor bastard survivors sitting around maybe fires in caves might somehow, the butterfly wing in Brazil that causes a typhoon. Do I want to be known for it? I don't care about me. I don't care about me. I care about the suffering. I care about the joylessness. I absolutely want not to be known. I want Jesus to be known. I want Jesus' teachings and example, not our masturbatory imaginings of Jesus, not our insulting judgments about Jesus. Jesus' judgments about Jesus. Jesus' judgments about how to live. Jesus' judgments about success and failure. Jesus' judgments about how to be in the world. That's the big idea. That his ideas are the big idea we've been looking for 2,000 years, hidden right there in plain sight. James, what's the big idea? Why won't you just leave things alone? Leave us alone, James. Our lives are fine. We don't need anything messing with them. Our traditions or non-traditions, our religion or non-religion, it's working for us. Yes, it is. It's not working for me. Because the large portion of the planet's people are writhing in pain, writhing in agony. But my way is working for me. Really? No antidepressants. Not trying to consume yourself to death. Not over-medicating. Not drugging yourself with stuff, with entertainment, with media. It's working for you, right? We are so convinced, we have let ourselves become so convinced that empire and capitalism and Christianity and Buddhism are working for us. We're miserable, but we are convinced that they are working for us. And I feel that. No credit to me. Credit to my biological father. He didn't let my humanity be totally eviscerated. And under the leadership of the man Jesus, I've been rehabilitating some of it, or some of it is being rehabilitated. It's how our nervous system works before we destroy it. We feel other people's pain. We feel their joy. It's how we made it through the first multiple millions of years before we developed cultures to eviscerate that, to castrate our humanity so that the enslavable head and flesh could rule over us and be manipulated and used by the most selfish among us, by the most brutalized and inhumane among us. And it is a marvelous success. And the human species is being destroyed as a consequence. It's crowning achievement. And that's not going to be stopped. But there are people today that are at a turning point. They don't know it, but they're at a turning point. Individuals. Their humanity, what's left of it, is going to be finally crushed, or maybe they can be led to rehabilitation. And by objective measure, including my own experience, but not limited to that, the most alive, objectively alive people on the planet throughout history. If we look for a common source of rehabilitation for their relatively blinding humanity, often, not always, but often, more often than anyone else, Jesus comes to the fore. And if one is looking for their own peace, their own communion with God, their own bliss, their own salvation, any of the great spiritual leaders will do. But as I told several people yesterday, not a new thought. I don't care what happens to me. I don't care about my own salvation, except I'm the only lab rat I've got. And I use my body, my soul, my spirit, my psychology as that lab rat, trying not to abuse it, but trying to learn from it. Bonhoeffer, Dorothy Day, Philip Barragan, Leo Tolstoy, Albert Schweitzer were all inspired by Jesus. James, what's the big idea? The big idea is they were inspired by Jesus. It never occurred to them, thanks Christianity, it never occurred to them that he was the entire necessary answer. We've never tried that. Hours into the story of Christianity, a scholarly work by a Yale professor or researcher There are hundreds and thousands of people that have constructed and are today constructing Christianity. By way of analogy, on my 64,000 miles through the country, it could be, and in times past it might have been, I would have needed dozens of maps, maybe hundreds, from different sources. In fact, there were times when there weren't maps. And before Jesus, there weren't maps, by way of analogy. There wasn't a complete, comprehensive, necessary, and sufficient map. And after Jesus, there wasn't, because there was no written record available to just about anyone for 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 400 years, 500 years. And thanks to Christianity, there has been a map, the equivalent of Google Maps, that is complete, necessary, and sufficient. The only one in all likelihood. And those tens of thousands of people that have defined, constructed, and are constructing and defining Christianity are all standing between people and those four Gospels. That's why they exist. Whatever the intended motivations, that's why they exist. To steal attention away from those four Gospels. It's as though there were applications coming up on my Android every nanosecond, taking the Android away from Google Maps, making it impossible, or at least unlikely and impractical, for me to see that Google Maps is the necessary, complete, and answer that I need. In this story of Christianity, which is a scholarly work, every once in a while I'll catch a glimpse of someone that seems to have considered that what Jesus had to say was important. But 99.99% of it, Jesus is irrelevant. What's relevant is what this philosopher said, what this Greek said, what this bishop said, what this so-called disciple said, what the so-called apostle said, what Constantine wanted, what this sect wanted, what that sect wanted. Jesus is not even a footnote. He isn't. Objectively, he isn't. So someone may be traveling on back roads through the country, 64,000 miles, and they've never heard of Google Maps, and they've never touched Google Maps, and they have hundreds of maps. Well, no, they haven't in 7 years, without a support team, navigated 64,000 miles through the country. They haven't. They may be delighted with what they've done, or they may think they've done the best, the most efficiently, but they haven't. That's an objective proposition. And it's the same proposition. What's the big idea? That Jesus is the Google map. Jesus is the Eisenhower World War II leader, the supreme commander, or whatever he was called. In crisis situations, we intuitively know that we want a leader. When we can see, when we can face, when we, more importantly, we can't deny the crisis. Well, we're not there. We're exterminating the species on our denial, our masterful denial of the crisis. We're masters at it. I'm not. I don't have that skill. I don't have that gene. I don't have that capacity. No credit to me. Just a fact. If a building is burning, if an automobile is burning, I can't turn away from it. I don't have that gene. I can't shut off my empathy. I can't do it. So it's a problem I have to deal with. So what's the big idea? That Jesus is the leader, the supreme commander. By way of analogy, that the Allies decided they needed in Eisenhower to win the war of restoring our humanity. And poetic license, that's what James sees after thousands of hours of studying Jesus. He used different words, but what he saw as divine in himself was his humanity, that God-given capacity, DNA-given capacity. No one created it, but we have a culture and religions whose job, unspoken, unrecognized, denied, whose job is to destroy it so that our head and flesh and their institutions can rule. The big idea is that Jesus is the obvious, necessary, and sufficient answer for anyone that wants to rehabilitate their humanity. His words, not filtered, not diluted, not diffracted, his words. Because it's sacred, because he's the Son of God. Is Google Maps sacred? Is Google Maps the Son of God? Do I care? It works. It does the job. And all evidence is, for what I'm doing, it is the best tool. Do I worship it? I use it. I'm grateful for it. I appreciate it. I respect it. Everything we don't do with the teachings and example of the man Jesus right there in the four canonical Gospels.